Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich and Broadcasting premiere podcast. Damn you, Hollywood! And here's your host, Robert Winfree. Yay!
Yep, it's me. I don't have a bit. Mark doesn't have a bit. No bits. We have no bits this evening. How are you? Hi, everybody.
Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. I'll fucking sing if I want to, and nobody can stop me. You can make jokes about muting me, but I control the mute button. Yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. Middle fingers to all of you. You can go on now.
I said nothing about your singing. I barely paid attention for the last 15 minutes.
A flashback to that one sketch where they sang that on the Muppet Show with singing vegetables and fruits.
You know, I just watched the very first episode ever of the Muppet Show, and they opened up with, once they got through the whole opening bit, the opening of it, and Kermit backstage and everything. The first skit they introduced, which I didn't know this at the time, was Phenomena, which is funny for the first minute. And then it goes on for an hour and a half, and you're like, what the fuck is this? How did this last on the air for 5 years?
It was a different time period. Two, I just assume everyone was more racist, and just that's why everything was better back then. I shouldn't say better. It's the wrong word. Longevity. Everything went long.
I agree with you, though, but I mean...
All right, now that I've got us demonetized, yay me.
Way to go.
I'm Robert. You've heard Mark and his dulcet tones. Mark, we're going to have you sing a whole album one of these days, and we'll release it on YouTube. Speaking of releasing music, you want to get that plug out of the way, and we can just do it right at the top of the show?
No, I'll do it later.
All right. Joining us for this particular episode, we have, per usual, Alexis Hejna, along with Eddie. Alexis, how you doing?
Doing good. Cleo just tried to unplug the Instant Pot.
Good for her. Also, a happy International Puppy Day to all of our dog owners out there and their respective furry friends. And joining us for this particular episode, first time in a while he's been on, but Jason Teasley is here. He's finally got a crack in his work schedule and the internet connection over in...
It's not just Jason Teasley. It's Jason Teasley from The Kickoff, and kiss him, he's the Black Irish.
I'm not saying that, but okay.
Well,
from a couple
Mark
of other shows. Okay, so from a couple of other shows here on the network, such as The Kickoff and The Black Irish.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to check that one out yet, but I will add it to my queue in the future. We have Jason Teasley stopping by Damn You Hollywood. Jason, how does it feel to be a big star these days?
I don't know if I'm a big star, but I am the prodigal son of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network.
Jason's last podcast got kicked off of YouTube.
It did not, because I've done 2 episodes since then. So don't even start that shit, Mark. You're just late to the party.
Sorry,
but
his third to last episode. Whatever.
I did have a Black Irish episode kicked off of YouTube. So, but it's good to be back with you guys.
Big tech censorship. They know what's best.
What are we talking about tonight, Robert?
Tonight, we're talking about why big tech should be broken up as a monopoly, and in fact,
good night, everybody.
Would like to cite for the audience at least 3 scholarly works on the subject. No, I'm just kidding. We are talking this evening about the long-awaited, much-anticipated, I feel like there's another somewhat rhyming word I could throw in there, but I'm not going to. Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League movie. Now, for those of you who may not remember, who avoided the flaming feces ball that was the theatrical cut of this movie, you may not remember that particular film when it first came out. So, before we get into this movie, I think a little bit of context is potentially necessary here. So, first up, bit of the history. Zack Snyder is shooting the Justice League movie, which we debated the merits of rushing to that after...
Let me jump in here.
Limited number of movies.
It's important that everyone understand that many, many years ago, Warner Brothers rebooted the Superman series with Zack Snyder and David Ayers. It was Zack Snyder. Who?
Zack Snyder Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. David Ayers did Suicide Squad.
Yeah, who was the other writer on Man of Steel?
That moron who's only good when he has one of the Nolans actively standing over his shoulder, keeping him on track.
That one.
Goyer?
That's the one. Right. All right. So Zack Snyder and David Goyer wanted to do this Jesus analog for Superman called Man of Steel. And then the Avengers came out, and the Avengers made $1 billion, and Warner Brothers looked at Zack Snyder and said, I don't know what you think you're doing next, but do that. And they went, okay. And so Man of Steel was delayed a year or two and changed into Batman v Superman because Avengers made $1 billion. And Zack Snyder said, okay, but I'm not just going to do that. I'm going to do this trilogy. And the last part of the trilogy is actually going to be 2 parts. So there's going to be Man of Steel, which leads into Batman v Superman, which leads into a 2-part Justice League that ends with Darkseid invading the Earth. And
yeah, I wish we'd gotten that. I really do.
That's not what happened.
Yeah,
I know it's not. I'm just saying.
On paper, that sounds incredible.
So the short history of how we got to Zack Snyder's Justice League, as I just said, was he made Batman v Superman, which we've covered at length. We've talked about it on a number of different podcasts, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, but we made fun of it on a number of different podcasts.
It did not. It fell shy of the $1 billion mark that it was supposed to. At which point, everybody at Warner Brothers flipped, just went crazy, and was like, and tried to change course. Which, to quote The Wire, it's an oil tanker. You just can't turn this thing around. A lot of things had already been in the works. As a matter of fact, other projects like Wonder Woman and Aquaman and Suicide Squad were also already in the works and were supposed to be related to what we're now calling the Snyderverse. But like I said, right out of the gate, their Avengers movie, their Batman v Superman, doesn't make $1 billion. It makes around $700 million. I can't remember who hated it more, the critics or the fans, but it did not go over well for a variety of reasons. And so you guys are going to talk a little bit. You guys are going to talk a little bit about the personal stuff that took Zack Snyder out of the movie. But even before he got there, Warner Brothers had sort of lost faith in him and wanted to change course, which is eventually, I think, how they decided on Joss Whedon, number one. Number two, Warner Brothers also went through a change in leadership at the top over the course of this entire affair between Man of Steel and Justice League. And with that, they also had a change of leadership at DC Films, where one person was running it, and another person was running it, and nobody was running it, and then Robert Winfree was running it, and so it was a giant mess.
No. I will not have my name attached to that.
My son might have run it for a day. No one really knows what was going on at Warner Brothers. Giant mess. You're witness, sir.
Yeah, so with a little bit of that as far as the background goes, a couple of things. Again, the Batman v Superman did not meet expectations in no small part because the director's cut of Batman v Dawn of Justice is a little better. It doesn't actually fix a couple of the fundamental issues with the film, but there's a few things that it does flesh out.
It fixes the pacing, but it doesn't change that the plot is stupid.
Yeah, there is most certainly that. Then, while filming the Justice League movie, again, we've already gone over a little bit of the lack of faith in Snyder. Then, the personal tragedy, his daughter, Amber, I believe, committed suicide.
Her name was Autumn, sorry.
Autumn, sorry, thank you. I knew it was an A. Because there's a card at the end of this movie that says that dedicates the film to her.
Of course.
And Snyder, as anyone could understand, had to step away from his job to kind of be with his family, to process, to, and again, there's no rational person who looks at that and goes, "How dare you, sir? This is the movie business."
For the record, I'm sorry, I'm just going to butt in.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, for the record, suicide is a horrible thing that is so prevalent in our country, in our world. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is available 24 hours a day. It's 800-273-8255. Available to anyone in suicidal crisis or emotional distress. Again, that's 1-800-273-8255.
Yeah, and please, if you're in distress like that, reach out. I'm not a trained counselor, so I can't say anything that'll potentially, help. But anyone there should be able to.
Again,
so
24 hours, available in English, Spanish, I think a few other languages. Someone is there to talk, and someone is there to listen to you.
If you happen to be one of our international listeners, I guarantee there are equivalents of this in I shouldn't say every country. I can't speak for the totality of the world. The vast majority of fully developed, industrialized countries have some equivalent of this. Australia, New Zealand, I know do. Canada does. So find that information if you can. It's easy. It's relatively available, and yeah, it's something that it's a terrible, terrible thing. And there's always someone who can help. There's always someone willing to listen. We should know because we have this podcast, and there are people who listen to this. So there's always someone willing to listen to anything. He stepped away, and in steps Joss Whedon, because he directed the first two Avengers movies, and didn't he just oversee all that goodness over at Marvel? And turns out, no, he was a smaller cog in a larger machine than most people wanted to admit at the time, but that's a different story. They brought him on to recut and reshoot and finish up this particular film, and he changed some stuff. Turns out a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I was like, some stuff, world's biggest air quotes.
Well, again, they wanted... Warner Brothers from day one, as I said before, wanted the Avengers. And when they saw Zack Snyder and his grimdark approach to DC Comics made for 40-year-old...
It's not grimdark.
Made for 40-year-old men, they were like, no, we want 14-year-old boys, not 40-year-old men. What's wrong with you? And so they brought in Joss Whedon, who makes light and entertaining and billion-dollar Avengers movies.
And then it turns out that Whedon's only successful when he is put within the appropriate framework, because he doesn't actually contribute a whole lot on his own. And is a bit of a misogynistic bully.
As we learned recently. There's also a lot of stories, and there are some that are pointing fingers at Joss. There are some that are pointing fingers at the studio about certain characters getting their roles cut down, about certain plot lines being erased. There's some parts of it that you watch the Whedon cut, then you watch the Snyder cut, and you go, did Whedon actually think doing that was a better idea? Or was it the studio that said that's a better idea?
To be clear, he was doing the studio's bidding. They said, make this lighter. They told Zack Snyder, you're only getting one movie. You're not getting two Justice Leagues. So that's the start of it. Then he leaves due to tragedy. Joss Whedon steps in, and he is given orders. Make it lighter, make it jokier, make it brighter, and keep it to 2 hours. And
for
that's
some
what
reason,
he did.
Oh, and here's
he fails.
$5. Good luck erasing Henry Cavill's mustache.
And for some reason, he fails to make it brighter, doesn't actually lighten the tone, and this is one of the few movies that, and we get to this when we talk about this movie in particular, 4 hours this does not need to be. But no one would have complained about Justice League being closer to 3, right?
Yeah, I would have been fine with it being around 3.
I think more casual fans probably would have objected. I saw the theatrical cut with my mom and dad, and I think 3 hours for them would have been a bit much.
Well, again, closer to 3 is certainly a long film. But if we're talking about something that's introducing 3 brand new characters from whole cloth and is supposed to be the big, Justice League movie, if it's longer, I don't think too many people would have raised giant objections just seeing the runtime. Again, some people would have, but I don't think it was the hurdle that the studio thought it was. Let me just put it like that. So Whedon comes in, he cuts, he reshoots, he orders Henry Cavill back from the filming of Mission Impossible, says, "What's that thing growing on your upper lip?" He says, "It's a mustache for this other billion-dollar movie I'm working on."
And I think
Shave
it's like Paramount who was who said, "Hey, well, can we shave it?" And then you guys just like digitally add it in later, and Paramount's like, "No, you digitally
No.
erase it, fuckers."
Look, he's doing you a favor by showing up at all. He's under contract to us at the moment. Deal with it.
Yeah, that might be my favorite thing Paramount ever did. say, wait, Paramount, will you please cooperate with us so that we can get this Superman movie done? No, he's doing Mission Impossible. Eat a dick.
Did you guys review that Mission Impossible movie?
We've reviewed
did.
them all.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, plug. Second of all, what did you guys think of his performance in that?
He's great.
He's the best. He's probably the best thing about that mostly fire.
You haven't heard me and Robert pantslessly and breathlessly discussing him doing the fight scene in the bathroom that sounds like two guns going off? You could hear us sweat on that podcast when we talked about that.
Apart from the fact that I can never unsee that his shirt changes mid-motion. That famous scene of him when he takes his jacket off and he kind of shakes both of his shoulders out.
Yeah.
One frame, he's shaking out a shirt with no pockets. His hand passes over his pec, and there's a pocket. I can't unsee it.
I talked about that at the time, too.
Before
this turns into a 4-hour podcast, keep going.
So, anyway, the theatrical cut is released to these, and no one likes it. I mean, the actors largely disown it. The studio fires Whedon from anything else he's doing with them.
Do you remember
they disown him?
The fan outcry, though, that they were saying that Rotten Tomatoes and other websites were going against DC, and they're like, they're just trying to make DC sound bad. The film wasn't that bad, and we're like, yes, it was.
Look,
Mike Stacklasa from Red Letter Media in his Half in the Bag review said he loved it because it reminded him of the Super Friends cartoon.
For the record, you can listen to our review of it. It's in the archives. We have a good time talking it. But before we move on, just 50 words or less. I'll start with Jason because he's been nice and quiet. Your thoughts on the theatrical cut, if you've seen it at all, and if you can remember anything from it, etc.
What I remember of the theatrical cut was a lot of disjointed plot lines that didn't get really fleshed out that we did get in this, that kind of had a better payoff. Not much Cyborg, which was retconned in this, and just, I mean, it was really disjointed. That's what I remember of the original. I mean, that's the easiest way I can explain it.
Alexis, you said you saw it with your parents. I assume that went poorly.
I saw it with my folks, my husband, and my kid sister. And yeah, I remember sitting there thinking, wow, what happened to the CGI budget on this? Because the fight scene between Steppenwolf and Superman near the end was so bad. I was like, oh God, PS2 flashbacks. And the only thing about that movie that genuinely got me excited, both Haley, that's my little sister, and I geeked out hard at the end when Deathstroke made an appearance. He's one of our favorite DC characters, and you have no idea how much it pisses me off that we're never going to get that actor to play that role again. Urgh.
I feel so bad for Joe Manganiello. I really do. I mean, I can't feel too bad for him. Well, I can only feel so bad for a man married to Sofia Vergara, but I feel bad for the guy. All right, Mark, and you and I kind of rehashed. We took that thing out behind the shed and shot it when we reviewed the movie. But any fond memories of that trip?
I want to, in like 50 words or less, and I really will keep this brief. But if you'll indulge me for a moment, I really liked Man of Steel. Sir. I really liked Man of Steel. I talked about it at the time with Jeff Harris. This is like ages ago. Because remember when I used to do a podcast with him. But Jeff Harris and I talked about it.
That must have been a fun discussion between you two.
Of all the horrible discussions I've had with Jeff, that one wasn't bad.
You and I did an In Defense of Man of Steel podcast. I seem to recall as well. I don't think survived the purge, but We did it.
Yeah, we debated Gavin. Gavin submitted his own podcast crucifying it, and we defended it. I liked Man of Steel. I accepted that it wasn't, if you are a Golden Age fan of Superman in the sense of Superman is a beacon of hope. Superman should always be presented as he was for decades, up until probably the 90s. And any other version of Superman is unacceptable, and I rejected it at the time. I continue to reject it. I think Superman's an interesting character that you can play with like any other character, and so I think the Jesus analog in Man of Steel and what they were going for was interesting to me. I didn't buy into the line of I wish the line from Red Letter Media. I wish kids still had Superman because they don't anymore. He's become this symbol of negativity. No, I thought while it indulged in its excesses, especially at the end, I didn't get caught up in the he doesn't save anybody thing, and I like the kind of questions it was asking about what is it to live with these kinds of powers in this place, and what does that do to a human psyche. So that's Man of Steel. Batman vs. Superman, I remember at the time saying, if you take out it was Lex Luthor all along, I won't sing it, I promise.
The less said about Eisenberg's Luthor as a general rule, the better. What a terrible decision that was by everyone.
Recut Batman versus Superman with, and just take Lex Luthor out of it entirely and just make it about Batman's paranoia and fear of Superman, and then what's his face shows up at the end. What's the monster's name?
Doomsday.
And then and Doomsday hatches out of an egg or a box or something, and Jim Cornette yells, "He's coming out of a box." It's fine. Batman v Superman actually works as a great movie when it's just about Batman's paranoia and fear and anxiety, and in a world with a living God. Also, Wonder Woman's great in that movie. So about half of it's really, really good.
I'll actually go on that, Mark, especially since I felt that so much of that film turned into a, hey, we could throw this character in here. Hey, we could throw this character in here. I remember watching that movie, and then Civil War came out. I remember watching that, and then watching how they introduced the Black Panther. And the first thing I said to my friends when I left the theater was, okay, DC, maybe you should take notes next time you want to introduce an important character like Wonder Woman. That's how you do it.
So, love or hate Zack Snyder and his vision of film, and the things he says about life, the universe, and everything, a tone was set with Man of Steel and BVS. And I wished at the time that he was able to realize his vision without studio interference. We just went over why that didn't happen, but that was my wish for him at the time. So the part of the reason, so when I say I really hated Justice League, it's not necessarily because it's the worst movie ever. It's because we're doing a thing, stuff happens, and we can't do that thing anymore. And then you gave us this garbage imitation of the Avengers that's tonally so different from what we got from the first two movies. And it's just, I couldn't get away from the idea of this was studio, I think we called it Studio Notes the movie at the time. And so I want people to understand, that's why I went through this whole preamble. I want people to understand that when I say I had a lot of problems with the Justice League movie, it's because I really liked the first two a lot, and I wished his vision could be realized in a two-part Justice League movie as he had envisioned.
Oh, man. Sorry, somewhat breaking news. Apparently actor George Seagal died.
Yeah, I saw that an hour ago before I actually started the podcast.
That sucks. I just saw that the first time.
What was George Seagal in?
Oh, the Goldbergs, Just Shoot Me.
Oh, yeah. He did a lot of voiceover work, actually. He had a very calming voice.
Yeah, he's one of those actors that's been in everything you've ever seen. So when people listen to this podcast, know that that's where I'm coming from. And your thoughts, Robert?
I didn't care at all for the theatrical cut, as I haven't gone back and re-listened to our review of it. One of the things I distinctly remember saying was I would like to have seen Snyder's version just for compare and contrast purposes, because I thought at a bare minimum, something with a cohesive vision will have something over the Frankensteinian monstrosity that was cobbled together for that movie.
You know, we had this conversation where we talked about Ant-Man, where both of us were like, Ant-Man might have been a better movie had it been one director's vision. Instead, it's the, you know, as you just put it, it was another iteration of a cobbled together Frankensteinian monster. And it's like, I mean, sure, there's stuff that works, but it's so obviously stitched together, it's almost painful to watch.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I came to this one from. I was always going to be curious about it. And I'm glad I did watch it. I really am. So let's get into the plot for this thing, which is going to be talked about in broad strokes here, and then we'll get into detail. First of all, this movie is 4 hours. Didn't need to be 4 hours. I think that's one of my big critiques. Did not need that much runtime.
Yeah, apparently Snyder self-funded with the fans everything for this movie. He did not get a check from Warner Brothers or DC because he insisted this was his vision, his plan, and he was going to make the movie that he wanted to make, which is what the fans demanded. They didn't want studio interference again.
Yeah. So we open with the death of Superman, and we see that his dying signals to these artifacts, these mother boxes, around the world that, hey, the last son of Krypton's dead. The last thing that might potentially interfere with our purpose being fulfilled and is gone. And they send out a beacon into the vacuum of space. And stepping out of the vacuum of space comes Steppenwolf.
Who looks so much better in this.
So much.
Yeah, again, I don't know what the hell happened with Joss Whedon and the CGI thing, but Steppenwolf in the Whedon cut looked like a Soul Calibur character.
Yeah, he looks a lot better here. Anyway, he shows up, he starts collecting the boxes, starting with the Amazons. The Amazons can't keep it, so they send a message. They light an ancient warning flare at the Temple of the Amazons in Greece.
Gondor calls for aid.
Indeed. And Diana will answer. She goes underground there and finds out hang on, I'm going to get a little bit of the timing messed up here because this movie bounces a bit in the chronology. Batman is trying to assemble the Justice League because he heard from Lex Luthor at the end of Dawn of Justice that I sent out a call and a bell cannot be unrung, and now he's coming because Jesse Eisenberg. And now he's a little bit paranoid, and like, okay, we're going to need something, and the strongest defender that Earth has just died. So let's see what we can do about this. So he petitions Aquaman. Aquaman tells him to get bent. He discovers the existence of Cyborg and sends Diana after him. He figures out who the Flash is. The Flash is the only one who goes, yeah, this sounds great. Because he's the Flash. Anyway, Diana sees the warning, goes to the temple, goes underground, finds our big room of exposition. She shows up to take an exposition dump on the faces of the audience and the characters. She does eventually connect with Cyborg, gets him to come along. We get somewhat extended flashbacks and backstories for both the Flash and Cyborg in this movie, which were really nice additions. Because those two, Cyborg in particular, was horribly destroyed by the theatrical cut of this film. Just butchered.
There was actually a hashtag that said "I stand with Ray Fisher" that was trending on Twitter for a while.
Yeah, his character got done real dirty by that cut. for whoever you want to blame for that in particular, I suppose. Anyway, so we get to know a little bit about them, their backstories, and their abilities. They all... Aquaman's going to just kind of let this be whatever it is until the box that the Atlanteans are responsible for guarding is stolen. Again, our exposition... Sorry, I forgot the exposition dump. Thousands of years ago in the beginning, when the Earth was full of heroes and Atlanteans before Atlantis fell, and the Amazons before they hid in Themyscira, and there was a Green Lantern hanging around, and Mark Radulich had a hairline, many, many aeons into the past. Darkseid and his armada showed up trying to take over and conquer, subjugate, demolish the Earth. The combined efforts of our bunch of heroes, gods, and various assorted others were able to turn back Darkseid, send him back into space. And this is historically, to the best of all available knowledge, the only planet that's ever turned him back. As they went into retreat, they left behind these 3 mother boxes. The danger that they pose is when they are brought together and are able to fully synchronize whatever with whatever science/magic is going on within them. They have exponential matter rearranging properties, and they will just turn a planet into a loose version of the planet Apocalypse, which is where Darkseid lives. And this is a bad thing because, the planet's kind of the place where we live. So they were turned back. Now Steppenwolf has arrived. He's collecting the boxes. He wants to bring them together, form the unity, and conquer the planet. In no small part, actually entirely motivated by the fact that Darkseid got pissed at him and banished him until he conquered 50,000 planets. He basically sent him out to go find the Avatar, for anyone who gets that particular reference. Then you can have your honor back. And Steppenwolf is now trying to conquer this planet. He gets a vision from the mother boxes that show something very important happens to be on Earth, a part of the anti-life equation, which is something Darkseid is looking for. And I don't want to get too deep into that. For the purposes of this movie, it's kind of a MacGuffin.
The anti-life essentially is an equation that proves all life and free will is useless.
It's a semi-sentient construct of mathematics, because it becomes a Green Lantern at one point, I seem to recall. Comics are weird. What do you want me to say?
I just always like what they said in Death Battle. So it's math that makes you sad.
Yeah, that's all math. Anyway, so he contacts Darkseid and says, "Hey, I found this thing. Can I have my honor back?" And he goes, "Sure. If you conquer the planet, turn it into Apocalypse, I'll show up. I'll have anti-life. I will rule the universe, and yes, you will be forgiven for your trespasses." He's collected 2 boxes. He's trying to find the third. Our plucky band of adventurers figure out what's going on with these things, in part because this is how Cyborg's life was saved. He was in a car accident, lost giant portions of his physicality, but was saved by this box, reorganizing a bunch of matter and essentially turning him into the most mechanized cyborg that we know and love today. They decide that they have a fight. It goes poorly, and they decide, we're a little bit overmatched here. Oh, you've got a thing that will rearrange matter, and it brought you back to life when you should have been dead. Maybe we can use this to bring back Superman. And they very briefly debate the morality and the consequences of this, but ultimately go through with it. With Cyborg's ability to meld with technology, a little bit of a charge from the Flash because he builds up electricity when he runs. They revive Superman, and the big ominous thing here is that this, in theory, sets in motion irrevocably the events that lead to the Injustice storyline, where Superman goes evil, tyrannical, and the only way to save that particular world is to open up a hole into a parallel universe where you can then get their Superman to come stop your Superman, because otherwise you're screwed. So he comes back, he beats the crap out of the Justice League, because of course you do. It's still my favorite scene in either cut of this movie, is him just single-handedly bitch-slapping all of them. It's just the best. But he eventually remembers who he is, gets his thoughts back, shows up at the critical moment because he's Superman. Everyone else kind of assumed their using of the box keys Steppenwolf into where it is. He shows up. He steals it. Kills Cyborg's father in the process, but Cyborg's father is able to superheat the box to the point where it's easily trackable via satellite technology, which was a really nice thing that they didn't do in the movie, in the theatrical cut. In the theatrical cut, they just, they're in this village in Russia. We now know this for plot. Yay. So they show up there just kind of with the assumption that Superman will be along because he's Superman, which he does because he is. They show up there, big fight sequence. They initially don't actually succeed. They're a little bit too slow. Flash gets shot when he's supposed to be building up enough start to jumpstart Cyborg to enter the 3 boxes that have been brought together and then separate them. So they can't do it. Doesn't work. Life ends, except the Flash. He is so fast he can go backwards in time, which he does. To the point just before the Unity transpires, sends Cyborg in. Cyborg is able to separate the boxes. They kill Steppenwolf. Well, Wonder Woman kills Steppenwolf because we can't have Batman or Superman kill anyone, now can we?
Yeah, the sword, it works.
I know. It's a giant complaint I have in general. No.
Hold on, Superman already killed someone.
Yeah, and look how much backlash that got.
So, I mean, what's one more?
Well, what's one more other superpowered being that will not otherwise be stopped? Anyway, they kill him, send his head back through a boom tube to Darkseid. Darkseid looks at this and goes, yeah, alright, guess we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way, but you've got something I really need, so hell's coming with me. To set up a sequel that we'll never get. Our heroes go about their merry way, setting up their own subsequent movies, except Diana, just because hers are both flashbacks. And except the Flash, because he's not actually getting one. And Cyborg, because he's not getting one either. So, good on Aquaman, I guess.
Or Batman, because he's going to be replaced with another actor.
Yeah.
In another universe.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. I want to talk about this movie on its own merits before we delve into the stupidity of the forward thinking that's gone into what's coming next for this particular
I really hope you
brand.
meant forward thinking in quotes.
I did. The loose direction that is leading to a cliff. So we get a little bit of follow-up, what each of them is doing. Cyborg has made a little bit of peace with who he is and wants to be a hero going forward. The Flash gets a job in a crime lab, still wants to try and prove his father innocent. Again, I don't want to get too deep into any of this. Diana goes back to antiquity restoration and presumably raping men who have lost their sense of self because some wish brought Steve Trevor back again. Batman meets the Martian Manhunter because why not?
Talk about a throwaway of what was honestly a very coolly designed character. I mean, again, Snyder really improved the visual effects and the CGI, and I was blown away with how cool Martian Manhunter looked. And I do love that they have an actor who has appeared previously in the Snyderverse playing him, as in he's been the Martian Manhunter all along. But yeah, that's again Cliff.
Yeah, so he shows up because why not? That actually happens after the dream sequence, which I'll get to in just a second.
Oh, Lord.
Clark goes... Yeah, I know. Batman, much like he does in the original cut, buys the bank that foreclosed on the Kent's house. I do love that line from Bruce. I mean, it was in the movie previously, but I still just love it when Clark... They're moving his mother back into the farmhouse, and he just kind of goes, I don't know how you did this, Bruce. Like, he doesn't understand how money works. And Bruce just says, yeah, I bought the bank.
That was actually a really good line. And I love how casually he says it. And, yeah, Clark just looks at him like, what? And Bruce is like, what? I do this all the time.
It's not the only bank I own, man. That's probably my second favorite version of that particular line. My favorite still comes from Inception. When they're talking about, when we're going to... Our best bet for getting this guy into a long dream is the nonstop flight from Sydney to Los Angeles.
And Ken
we're gonna have to...
says, "I bought the airline."
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna have to buy up every seat in the first class cabin. We'll probably have to We'll have to pay off the pilots, the support staff. and etc. And he just goes, I bought the airline. Because, Ken Watanabe. But, so, Clark goes back to being a reporter. Bruce goes, then there's a dream sequence where Bruce sees again the future. This time, we are led to believe that a bunch of people have died, including Aquaman. He's hanging out with Deathstroke, Mira, Cyborg, I forget the other one. Flash. Flash is there. And they're staging a last-ditch effort to do something, and they've also got the Joker with them, because of course they do. And I will complain about that in a moment. Anyway, he wakes up from his dream, meets the Martian Manhunter, roll credits. So I've talked enough. I will talk more in the future. Mark, I figure I'll start with you for this one.
No, you won't.
Because...
Jason, you have been patiently waiting for Robert to finish. You didn't interrupt him once. You were a good boy, and you should be rewarded with all the time you need to tell us how much you loved or hated or felt indifferent about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Black Irish away. Go!
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Jason. Give us your thoughts, good, bad, or otherwise.
I mean, this movie did, like I said earlier, and we've stated before, this movie didn't need to be 4 hours. I liked it a lot better because it fleshed out some things that the theatrical did not. But I think that Snyder took every bit of film that he created and threw it into this movie just to get his vision across, which is typical in Zack Snyder. His movies are really slow paced and drawn out historically. But I mean, like I said, it was fine. I liked it better than theatrical. I liked the fact that, we got to see Martian Manhunter. I liked the fact that Darkseid was a little bit more fleshed out, and how everything came about was a little bit more fleshed out. I really liked Cyborg in this. I mean, we barely seen him, and I'm sure we're going to touch on that in the theatrical version. I kind of like Cyborg. I didn't like the fact that, I hate Aquaman. I'm sorry.
But don't you understand? Jason Momoa has to take his shirt off.
Yeah, and we have to have women sing and sniff it, and
I mean, to be fair, hold on. You all know, there's people that would do that.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure my wife would do that.
And if I were able to maintain his physique for a significant period of time, I'd probably take my shirt off more constantly too. But I can't afford his chemical regiment.
Sorry, boy. I'm not complaining about Jason Momoa's Aquaman. I'm not, and it's not due to the looks.
Not for nothing. If I look like Jason Momoa, I'd be taking off my shirt every time I open my mouth. I'd be at Taco Bell, be like, I would like a chalupa. Off comes my shirt. I'd be at the bank.
Sir, this is a Taco Bell. Please put your shirt on.
Yeah, no shirt, no shoes, no service. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. There's a lot of aspects I liked it over the theatrical. Like I said, predominantly the whole fleshed out, some of the character arcs, and the dream sequence, I think, was kind of shoehorned in for an explanation, along with the Joker, which, he had laser removal surgery, obviously.
He didn't look like he did in Suicide Squad. I think we can all be about that.
Yeah, I mean, that futuristic laser removal tattoo surgery that he had, that, was continuity.
Look, I'm gonna yell plenty about that. Look, I'm gonna yell plenty about that. You don't have to just yet.
I think the tone was the film tone was a lot better in this one, and it conveyed what the vision he had was through everything, through the process of Dawn of Justice and Man of Steel. So I mean, I'm not totally hating it, but I wasn't in love with it. I mean, I'm meh on it, I guess you could say. In Mark's words, it's fine.
All right, Alexis, what did you think? Again, good, bad, otherwise?
Well, It's complicated for me because on one hand, I am thrilled for the reason that this film exists. What Snyder went through, no parent should ever have to go through at all. And stepping away from that, a project that he had been building up for years, and then watching it get just, chopped away like a night at Benihana by someone who clearly did not share the same ideals, it had to be horribly painful. And I love that not only that he got to complete it, but the fact that the fans were so adamant. You had all these cries for release the Snyder Cut, all the hashtags for the Snyder Cut, and I am really happy that the studio listened and responded. I think it's a really good sign, and I hope this is a sign of future things that the studio will listen to the fans more. That doesn't mean that I enjoyed the movie entirely. I felt it was very lagging. I feel that Snyder, while he does have a really good way of filming action sequences, does not have a concept for pacing to save his life. I thought that some of the choices were weird since they were going against the continuity that had been established in other films. For example, all of a sudden, Mira has a British accent, and all of a sudden, the Atlanteans can't talk underwater, they trill like dolphins. I just remember watching going, wait, that's not Joss Whedon's thing? It's like, that makes no sense, because they didn't do that in the Aquaman movie. And again, if this had come out before the Aquaman movie, we could say, oh, that was just a different idea, but again, it's like he's purposely saying, I don't care what this other director did, this is my continuity. But honestly, I think it just leaves you scratching your head more. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad this movie exists. I am not going to watch it again anytime soon.
Mark, you have thoughts?
Just to kind of keep it brief. I'm of two minds on this because on the one hand, I'm glad he got to make the movie that as close to the movie that he wanted to make that he did. I'm glad this exists. I don't like the fan campaign thing. I don't like fan petitions. I don't like fans anymore. I hate fans. You're all terrible people, and I wish Twitter would malfunction and go away. And I just hate all of you. In any case,
either clouds you want to yell at.
Ronnie Adams, where are you? We have to do a toxic fandoms too. Anyway, no. I'm glad in this one instance people were like, hey, can we please see what this guy's actual vision was, because this what other guy did doesn't seem right. Great. So an injustice has been made right, and I'm glad it exists. The 4-hour viewing experience, I was into it. I was enjoying it while it was going up until the epilogue. The epilogue sucks so bad it should be studied. And I think it actually, I think it's like you've made a perfectly wonderful dish, and then you're like, something's not right. Let me pee on it, because urine makes everything taste better. That's the epilogue for me. It's just, you just peed on what was a perfectly good, wonderful dinner.
Where the hell are you eating?
The more appropriate culinary metaphor he could be drawing here is, you looked at this and went, you know what? Truffle oil makes everything better. It doesn't. Stop using it.
Yeah, he really ruined what was, at that point, a perfectly good piece of business with that epilogue. I'll come back to that in a second. So, the good, the bad, and the ugly is probably the best way to do this. The good is, this became more of a character piece than the theatrical cut was, and that's its biggest success. Batman's character in Justice League is he is atoning for the sins of the previous movie. He is assuaging his guilt. He is trying to make right what he made wrong with his own failings as a human being. That's great. That's all there. Flash and Cyborg are done their justice. They are given things to do. They are given great hero moments. My second favorite moment in the entire film belongs to the Flash, and it's at the end when he reverses time to save the universe. I thought that was a great Flash moment. I thought it was a great hero moment. I thought it looked great. It's one of the for me, it's one of the high points of the film. The other one was in the theatrical cut, so I almost don't feel like they need to talk about it. But in case anyone's wondering, it still, when Superman reunites with his mother, it still breaks me up.
That's so good.
Yeah, it really is. The Superman fighting with the Justice League and all of that's all fun. We talked about that with the theatrical cut. So, hero moments, character moments, being a character piece, those things all work for this movie. The bad. Zack Snyder should never do anyone else's IP ever again. I think he's fine doing his own stuff because you have nothing then really else to compare it to or to have an expectation of. So, like, Army of the Dead, I guess, is that the name of the one that's coming up in May? The heist zombie movie?
I don't remember off the top of my head, but sure, let's go with that.
Let's go.
It's close enough.
Yeah. So his zombie heist movie in Netflix, I think it's probably going to be great. We're going to review it the same day it comes out on Netflix. We'll probably love it. And I think Zack Snyder is one of these artists where he's better off just kind of doing his own thing because I don't think he's smart enough, and I don't think he understands other people's IPs. I think he watches like Lord of the Rings, and he watches. It's like you watch Lord of the Rings, and I just did this, so I can speak to it pretty intelligently. The dummy watches Lord of the Rings and goes, the best part is the Battle of Pelennor Fields. I mean, yeah, it's cool. It's one of the coolest, like, epic war scenes you're ever going to see captured on film. Not the point of the movie. And if you don't understand what Lord of the Rings is about, and you're one of these people that thinks the best parts are the fighting parts, you've missed the whole point of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I think that's the best way I can describe Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder tried to make his own, like, epic Lord of the Rings-ish superhero movie, but thinks the best parts are the fighting parts. Like, doesn't understand. And he's not as bad as George Lucas, who I have said is, like, notoriously a robot who doesn't understand people. Zack Snyder's not quite there, but he's close. I don't think he understands people. I don't think he understands, like, the kinds of things you can do with film to bring out, to bring character out and to talk about, to talk about really heady themes. I think he just looks at superheroes and goes, it's cool when they punch shit. So I want to make this big epic movie with big epic punches.
Anyone else also feel that Snyder needs to get a lesson in transitions?
Yeah, he talked about pacing, and it's almost like people like he heard the criticisms about BVS and was like, all right, I'll fix the pacing. I'll make this 4 hours. That'll fix the pacing. It's like it was a giant overcorrection. You guys talked about like it should have been 3 hours, and I almost feel like this is, again, one of the situations where someone needed to come in and tell Zack Snyder, it's like, Zack, we get you're upset about the criticisms of EVS. Calm the fuck down. You don't need to do a 12-hour epic battle scene between the Amazons and Steppenwolf. Jesus Christ, that went on forever. And unnecessarily, there's getting the point across in a scene, and then there's just overindulgence. And that's the last thing I really want to say about this, is that while I'm happy he got to make his art, much like The Irishman, this is unfettered overindulgence where there's not a single adult in the room to tell this man-child, fucking no, dude. Learn to edit. Control yourself. And another adult in the room saying, there's more to superheroes, as there have been for decades, than just punching shit. Quick aside, Robert, you're better at detail memory than I am. Did Wonder Woman kill all the bank robbers in the theatrical cut? Because it seems like she does in this one, and I really hated it.
Okay, first of all, you're a big weenie about that. Second of all, no, I don't think she did, but I actually prefer that she does. Well,
okay. I mean, call it a weenie. I would call it having my own personal taste, and I don't think Wonder Woman should kill people. Fucking sue me.
No one should kill people.
Well, I mean, she stopped an explosion to have her own explosion.
Yeah, that really was just the dumbest thing.
Good point, Jason.
So she traumatized. These kids were going to be traumatized, but she said, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, the little girl whose first words are, can I be like you when I grow up?
Yeah, you could be a mass murderer.
Yeah,
Fine.
crazy murderer? Absolutely.
So,
Women can do anything.
Going back to something you said, Mark. So you're saying that Zack Snyder needs to do a partnership with Michael Bay and recreate some childhood memories.
Could you imagine Zack Snyder and Michael Bay?
Oh,
Like,
no,
what a
no,
dude-bro
no,
conversation
stop.
that would be.
How about we just not put that out into the universe? How about we just not?
Dude,
There's
like they're drinking beers in a bar, and Michael Bay's like, dude, tits and asses and explosions, and Zack Snyder says, yeah, but in black and white, and Michael Bay just takes off his pants.
No, seriously, guys,
Michael Bay doesn't
Lawson
wear
already
pants
has a
anymore.
reoccurring gag about those two being secret lovers, okay? It's already been done.
I want to hear, now that you mention it, Jason, I now want to hear Michael Bay and Zack Snyder review classic films. Like, first podcast they do is Casablanca. I just want to hear them talk about it.
I want to see him. I want to see them remake Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Michael Bay, they've already done that,
I want
Both of you to
No, I
die.
want him to redo it. I want him. It's not like Michael Bay wouldn't revisit it again. I mean, hell.
Maybe that's what they should do. We should have Michael Bay and Zack Snyder team up on classic movies, like remake The Maltese Falcon, remake Casablanca, remake the Battle of the Bulge,
Citizen Kane. No,
Citizen Kane,
go all
absolutely.
out. Citizen Kane.
Fucking Rosebud, dude! Tits! Explosion! Finale.
Rosebud would become like an explosion.
Don't make me do this. I can tell you how it should be done. Don't make me put this out there for some intern to go, hey, here's a great idea.
Well, now you have to.
No,
Yeah.
the hell I do. I
want to hear this.
Yeah,
I
no.
wanna hear your idea.
Guys, Rosebud was the girl, and he called her that because that was what she had tattooed on her ass.
Could you imagine if
Rosebud's
instead of a
gonna be
sled,
Megan Fox.
in the Michael Bay Zack Snyder team up of Citizen Kane, instead of a sled, it's like like a Pontiac.
It's a Ford Fiera with Megan Fox driving it.
It's a fucking convertible Mustang. Come on, Robert, have fun.
No. This is not fun.
I want to hear what your idea is.
No, I'm not going to. I told you no.
You're
I'm
such
not
a
putting it
fucking
out there.
tease. You should work in a strip club. You're such a tease. Go ahead, talk about the movie now.
All right. Good, bad, and otherwise. I find this movie to be infinitely more enjoyable on every level than the theatrical cut.
That goes without saying.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
like saying you enjoy a sinus headache over bowel cancer.
On that needlessly vivid note, I didn't hate the runtime. I don't think movies need to be 4 hours as a general rule. That includes this one. This could have been cut down to be closer to 3, and might have even made it stronger on the whole. I like that this movie treated Superman's death with some weight.
Yeah.
It's one of my big gripes about the theatrical cut. Well, Superman's dead. Well, isn't that just a mild plot inconvenience that we'll rectify in about 80 minutes? Like, that's all it was. Here we see people dealing with it. And not just, Lois and Martha, who certainly do struggle with it. But it's a pall that hangs over everything. They make it a big deal, as it should be. So I very much appreciated that. Giving Cyborg an actual character. Thank you. And whoever it was that decided that he should have been cut down the way he was in the theatrical cut, I don't know what confluence of personalities and decisions led to it, but it's very apparent that you all screwed up pretty badly. Like, that was some of the best stuff in this movie. And you turned him into nothing approximating it, because either, Joss Whedon's a vindictive petty dick, or the studio just had no faith in Cyborg as a character, or both, and I tend to think both.
I was going to say, why can't it be both?
I tend to think it was a little both.
It's because he's black.
Well, someone was going to say it.
Might as well be me.
So there was So I liked that. God, I need to say this the right way. Henry Cavill's there's 2 points here. One, Henry Cavill's Superman is an absolute joy to watch. I really, really hope he gets the right script for the next time he plays that role, because, again, it is an absolute pleasure to watch that man play Superman. It's great. The inverse of that, there's 2 casting decisions in this particular movie that are, again, just the total opposite. One, obviously, Eisenberg is Lex Luthor. I've yelled about this before. You can listen to that if you like it. I hate it. I hate his version of the character. I don't know how much is him and the writing and whatnot, but now, across a couple of different movies, some of which had very specifically, purely auteur-driven results, he's still just deep-fried ass. I'm blaming him at this point. And Jared Leto's Joker.
Ugh.
I struggled to really... I mean, look, I yelled about him in the Suicide Squad for a variety of reasons. Seeing him here, I came to a slightly different, but I think more accurate conclusion about his version of the Joker and why I hate it so much. In addition to all the things that I said previously, and you can listen to our Suicide Squad review if you're curious about that, his Joker has no weight. The Joker shows up, that should be something that you sit up and pay attention to. Jared Leto's Joker shows up and you roll your eyes.
Yeah, think about the entrances of the Joker in the previous live-action movies. Jack Nicholson when he comes in and shoots his boss. Heath Ledger when he pulls the mask off during the bank robbery.
And again, there's a lot of different ways you can do the Joker. They don't all have to be the same. But there needs to be some weight to the character, even if it's Cesar Romero, right? Even somehow Cesar Romero's Joker for that version of Batman had some weight to him in the sense that he was comedic, because everything in that show is comical, but he's still taken seriously enough even in his comedic tone. There's just nothing to this version of the Joker. It's empty, it's hollow,
But isn't that a representation of everything I said about Zack Snyder? Is that he looks at a thing, thinks something is cool, but doesn't really understand it?
If this was the only time I'd had that complaint, then maybe. But I retroactively have the same problem. I shouldn't say retroactively. This is a more apt articulation of one of the big problems I had with him in Suicide Squad, which was David Ayers, not Zack Snyder. Like, hey, it's the Joker. Oh, God, you're such a paper mache. You exist in paper. Like,
okay.
You're wet tissue paper. You're nothing.
Point of contention. Everything up until, I'm not even sure where probably Shazam. I think everything pre-Shazam is Snyderverse. So even though you might have had a director with a vision of a thing, they were all taking in large part Snyder's vision of what these characters should be. So even Ayers' Suicide Squad featuring Joker is Snyder's Joker, where no one seems to understand this character.
Again, I don't think that's entirely accurate. I mean, sure, they wanted to have a degree of continuity, but that's why Leto got the role, is because he cast him in the other one, not because he was actually any good. Just kind of the point there is, I don't think across different iterations you might have had to, again, take some notes about it. There's still stuff you could have done to give the character some weight and importance. Zack Snyder was not standing over David Ayer's shoulder going, no, he's got to be like this. There was that would completely remove any of the all responsibility from David Ayers for his garbage fire. And no, that's his dumpster fire. He gets to own it. So that I didn't like. We mentioned Martian Manhunter a little bit. He looked a little over-designed to me, but that might just be a personal thing. What else did I like? I don't really have too much else. I don't have anything different to add than what's already been said. Oh, wait, I did have one more. This movie is also a nice example that the difference between something and nothing, or the difference between 1 and 0, is in fact infinite. The difference between Steppenwolf showing up and yelling "Mother," and Steppenwolf going, "My lord, you cast me out because I screwed up. Can't I get my honor back? I found the Avatar," is everything. Look, Steppenwolf's not Hamlet. He's not, but he's a character with motivations and, thoughts, dreams, goals, and hopes. And yes, that makes all the difference in the world, even if it's something as flat as "Bring me the Avatar. I found the Avatar, Father."
Yeah, I should have mentioned that before. I didn't want to take an hour to talk, but I thought Steppenwolf is infinitely better in this. Here's my only problem with Steppenwolf and Darkseid and Desaad and all of that is I understand this was supposed to be Zack Snyder's unfettered vision. It was supposed to lead to Darkseid's invasion. But when you knew that was going to happen, for God's sakes, change tactics. Don't do an ending that alludes to a Darkseid invasion that we're never going to see. That was annoying. That was really frustrating.
Yeah, that's fair. And I have a minor gripe with the character design for everyone there. Darkseid
all aliens in the universe are made of concrete?
Darkseid looking like that is in character with most of his designs. Like he's always kind of looked like that, so he's fine. But you could have given a little bit of variance. And as always, one of the big problems with Snyder's movies, and I think this is a fair criticism, his color palette is somewhat limited. And
he does have dog eyes, doesn't he?
I don't know. Look, sometimes that works in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it doesn't. Here it didn't. There's not really any two ways around it. This was the other thing. It's a small thing. I would much rather have had Superman show up wearing the red and blue than wearing the black outfit, unless you give a reason for it. They felt like
they did, though, and it was right out of the comic book. I can't believe that's something you didn't like. I love that.
Hang on. If that's look, I get that there's a reason for it. It absorbs more radiation. Like,
he stood in front of the sun doing it. Did you need him to do narration?
He always stands in front of the sun.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm going to agree with Robert on this. I don't remember them actually giving a reason that a lot of people would pick up on.
It was implied in the shot what he was doing. All right, maybe it's because I've read The Death of Superman and I've seen the cartoon movies.
I guarantee you that's it, because, again, I know what he's doing, too.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you're me and you go, oh, I've either seen this before or I just happen to know that black absorbs more radiation on the visible color spectrum and will therefore repower him faster. Like, I know this because I know stuff outside of the movie. But I really did want just a little... I mean, you even have him at that particular point in time hearing the voice of Jor-El a little bit in flashback. You could have had the computer mention, you're a little bit weak. You should probably go with something that will help you regain your energy more quickly. You've been dead for however many months.
I'm going to politely disagree. It's neither here nor there. Because I'm thinking about what if they had a scene where he goes to the Fortress of Solitude and he's like, well, got to put the old uniform back on. And the computer goes, you're never going to make it. Not dressed like that. You won't. Here, put this on and go to the sun for a minute, and you'll be much better. I mean, they could have. I'm fine with the way they did it.
Let's be abundantly clear. This movie took a lot of time to do a lot of things. A 30-second explanation of that particular choice by all parties would not have hurt it in any way.
Can we get Jason in on this? Jason, you want to join the gang up on me, or you want to take my side? You want to be my favorite friend, or do you want me to hate you? Those are your choices.
I mean, I mean, I believe in Black Hole Sun. So yeah, I mean, I'm going to agree with Mark because I need to get his favor and stuff, and
good boy, Jason.
Not have him kick me off the network and not invite me back to review great theatrical film releases like Santa Jaws in the future.
But your real thoughts on the absence of an explanation for the black costume?
I didn't really. I mean, I thought that they gave one. Like I said, I mean, me knowing the history of it, though, it could have just been me transposing my knowledge on it. But
Yeah.
I thought they gave a brief explanation of it. But I mean, if you could have just threw a line in there, regard if they did or didn't, just a small line in there, just to give some exposition on it, I think would have worked, even if it was overkill and kind of catering to the fan service that may already know. You could have still just slid a line in there or expounded on a line, because like I said, I thought they explained it as well, but I was pretty much in a food coma trying to finish it up.
Well, again, I think that's all I had on this. Again, I think we kind of touched on everything that I wanted to. If I remember something else as we're going further, if I remember something else, I'll circle back to it.
We've all kind of pinched the nipple of the epilogue, but can we really just cash this out for just a second longer and then we'll wrap up? That epilogue is so bad, and it's not just my utter frustration with Zack Snyder. He clearly had a hard-on for this idea of the Injustice universe where Superman loses Lois Lane, goes nuts, and kills everybody. Fucking just make that movie, dude. Stop shoehorning it into everything else you're doing and just make that movie. Go to Warner Brothers, give me $200, I want to make Injustice, and go fucking do it. I hate the fact that, he can't... This is one of those things where he just can't get out of his own way, and he tacks this thing on. And I really tried. I was listening to the dialogue exchange between Batman and Joker, and it's wow, this adds nothing to the movie. It actively takes away from it, and it's just you masturbating all over your film.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I mean, again, Leto's Joker, the less he's on screen, the happier I am. It's a terrible version of that character.
And then why did we need the Martian Manhunter Batman scene where where it's literally it looks like they just shot that at Ben Affleck's house. They were like, hey, he's literally in his pajamas, get up, we need to do this scene with you and Martian Manhunter. He's like, do I need makeup or anything? No, you're fine just the way you are, Ben. And it's okay, Darkseid's coming. We fucking know! Except that he's not, because we're not going to do that movie. Why did we need that scene? It's everyone's complained about the end of the Return of the King with the multiple endings. It's but that halfway feels like Peter Jackson doesn't want to leave this world, and halfway we have a lot to close up here, and so we have to kind of do it in parts to really feel like you've completed the journey. And it was Zack Snyder wanted to do that, except it wasn't in any way, shape, or form earned, nor did any of those close-up scenes make any fucking sense to the overall narrative.
Again, I don't necessarily disagree with too much of that, so...
I agree with you, Mark, especially when you realize one thing. Going into making this movie, even back before everything happened, Snyder knew this was probably going to be the last movie he was going to make. This was going to be the end of the Snyderverse. And they tease all of this anticipation, and we know, the studio knows, none of it's going to come to fruition. My husband put it best when we finished the movie, and he looked at me and said, why didn't they fight Darkseid? I was like, and I'm like, well, apparently they were saving that for the next movie. And he goes, but we knew there wasn't going to be another movie. I'm like, yeah. So there's a problem there.
Yeah. Either
film.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I was. Look, I'm a bit of a Darkseid fanboy, so I was going to go on a little bit about that, but no. Finish your point, please.
So much of this movie is anticipation and build up and trying to psych up for more of the DC universe, and it's not going to happen. I mean, there is now a hashtag for continue the Snyderverse. Warner Brothers doesn't want to do that.
I really want to hit all those people. Like, you know, the sense of entitlement inherent in today's culture and embodied by Twitter makes me want to vomit. You know, it's, hey, we have this streaming service. We need content for it. The kids seem to want to see whatever stupid shit Zack Snyder was going to do with Justice League. Fine, let's let him do it. We'll put it there. People will subscribe to the service. Everybody wins. Not good enough. Not good enough, Warner Brothers. We want more. We want Air Cut. We want more Snyder. We want. We're spoiled brats and we're on Twitter and we have no pants. Ugh.
Well, I mean, the no pants things at least make sense.
I hates them, Robert Winfree. I hates them all. I want to poke out their eyes.
You have become everything that you used to hate. I want you to understand this.
I hate entitlement. I hate bratty behavior. And I can't parent Twitter. I can only parent my own children. And so I do my best to curb it in them so they become better adults. It's my number one job in life, and I take it 110% seriously.
I think the best advice I ever heard about raising children, and I do not have any kids myself just yet. I need to get married first, and for that I would need a girlfriend, and my sad single status persists because I have a myriad of issues.
When the Japanese sex robots become cheaper, I will send you one. Please make your point.
Best advice I ever heard about raising kids is raise kids that you want to spend time around.
Right. Perfect.
That you think other people. I mean, raise the kind of kids that you, as an adult, like to be around.
So to not stray too far from this, that's my issue. You know, like, you've become everything you hate. I mean, I'm doing somewhat of a bit here, but it does come from a place of my utter frustration with entitlement and brattiness. I don't like it in people. I certainly don't like it in full-grown adults. I hate that, and maybe it's a skewed perspective because that's all I seem to see on Twitter, and that's only one avenue of this. But I don't know another avenue where you get to see millions of people and their stupid thoughts, and the essence of it is entitlement and brattiness. I hate that part. I feel like that's a big part of our culture right now, if you take a snapshot of it. And one of the examples of that sort of thing is this: release the Snyder Cut, restore the Snyderverse, release the Air Cut. Fuck all of you.
All right. Anybody else have something they want to add to that particular point of discussion?
I came here just to say that, by the way. That's the only reason why I wanted to do this podcast. Go ahead.
No, I'm not arguing with Mark. I agree. And again, I stand by what I said, that I think it's great to see the fans rally behind Snyder. Yeah, the amount of people who are now demanding all the cuts of various different movies. I don't know if you guys saw, for the record, I'm on Twitter 99% of the time for my job. So please, every time I say, like, oh, hey, this was trending on Twitter, please don't think I'm a social media nut. I'm literally doing this.
I'm actually disappointed you haven't volunteered to become the social media president of Radulich and Broadcasting Network. I feel like you're a slacker because you throw all these. You throw these hashtags at me, and then you run away. And you're like, well, I'm not doing it. Mark can do it. It's like somebody I work with at my real job.
Yeah, I figured Comer would have volunteered by now.
He's not even in the group anymore. He's Alaska. He's on the satellite by himself. I have to message him privately.
Hey, he's the one who tried to be SEO head for my company, so I figured he would have volunteered by now to take care of SEO for the podcast.
Tweet my shows, woman.
We'll talk later, Mark.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, like what I was about to say was there's even now, I don't remember if this is a full hashtag or not. Apparently somebody let it leak that there are scenes that were filmed and never used from Mrs. Doubtfire, where Robin Williams apparently forgot he was making a PG-13 film and just started improvising and he couldn't stop.
Oh, was that why that was trending that one day? And I started people started referencing like an X-rated Mrs. Doubtfire.
R-rated, but yes.
No, but people were referencing a porn too. They're like, you don't need the NC-17 Mrs. Doubtfire. There's already a porn of this.
Well,
okay, that's a step too far.
Anyway, anyone who's seen Robin Williams not only do stand-up, but, I mean, hell, there's a gags reel where he was on Sesame Street, and they let him improvise, and there's multiple bits where he said something, and it's like, whoa, Robin, did you forget this is Sesame Street?
Fucking puppets, dude! Calm down! For God's sake, put the cocaine down.
Yeah, I mean, that's just Robin Williams' style. And hell, there's supposedly audio clips from him recording as the genie and the merchant in Aladdin that, yeah, again, you can't use. Because anyone who watched Robin Williams knew that he did what he was told, but when you let him go off the handle, he kind of forgot where he was supposed to be, and he just sort of went nuts.
All right, before we move on to the money in the news, I do want to bring up the music. I thought the music was used really well here. I thought it definitely did its job in setting tone. And if you're interested in hearing the motion picture soundtrack, it's actually available on AmazonMusic.com, which if you use our link, which is getamazonmusic.com/W2M network, getamazonmusic.com/W2M network, you can get a free 30 days on us here at the Radulich and Broadcasting Network and the W2M network. And you can check out the Justice League soundtrack, or Raya and the Last Dragon, or SpongeBob, or whatever other soundtrack we've been talking about as we review movies, or any other album that we review in the Metal Hammer of Doom, or anything that comes to mind. They have just an infinite catalog of fantastic musical goodness, and you can get a free 30 days on us. So go to getamazonmusic.com/W2M network. Jason, anything else?
Yeah, hey, you can be like Wonder Woman and have your own walk-in entrance music anytime you appear on screen.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So on the soundtrack, which track is one woman wailing?
Yeah, I mean, that was an interesting take.
That was a choice.
Yeah, that was something. Let's have Wonder Woman just have entrance music anytime she was on the screen for that extended period of time. Like, I don't know. I thought Vince McMahon took over for a second and was doing Titantrons. I don't know. But, I mean, I think that, I really don't have nothing more to say. I mean.
Okay. Robert, you got anything else before we go to the money?
Use our link. It lets Amazon know that we sent you. We're trying to build this thing here, people. Look, I've long since come to the conclusion that I am a giant waste of space. But the other people here,
please use our link. Ignore the fact that the guy 5 minutes ago was telling y'all to go fuck yourself. For God's sakes, please use our link.
Please, we need to get paid.
Well, that'd be nice.
All right, speaking of getting paid, here come the money. No, God damn it. Every time.
See, if you had Amazon Music queued up, you would have that right on key.
Here comes the money.
And you're like, but why? Why would you do the money? There's no money in this. It's streamed directly on HBO Max. You're right. But the weekend did happen, and there are things to talk about. Raya and the Last Dragon has been the #1 movie in theaters for 3 weeks now. This is week number 3. Came out March 5th. The weekend of March 19th through the 21st, it was #1 again. Before that, it was Tom and Jerry for a week. And before that, The Croods was actually the #1 movie 3 weeks running from February 12th through February 28th. And February 21st. And what that tells us, and there's been a lot of writing about this in the trades, is that the keys to the revival of the movie theaters, and as they have opened up in Los Angeles and New York, they have come up. The word roaring was used. They are roaring back to life. And the key has been family animated features like The Croods, Tom and Jerry, and Raya and the Last Dragon. That being said, the weekend looked like this. Raya, as I said, maintained its place at #1. Tom and Jerry maintained #2. Chaos Walking #3. The Courier, which I actually did see over the weekend, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, which is a cute little spy movie that takes place around the time of the Cuban Missile Crisis, debuted at #4. The Croods.
No. Time when cuteness and lightheartedness was at its peak in Americana.
The Croods stayed at #5. Boogie dropped from 4 to 6. Thanks, Cleo. The Marksman maintained at #7. Wonder Woman #8. The Little Things #9. The Father dropped from 8 to 10. Minari rose from 15 to 11. City of Lies, which is, I think that it was actually like ready. It was supposed to be released in, I think, 2018 or something like that. 2018 or 2019. This is yet another telling of the botched investigation of the death of Notorious B.I.G. and Tupac, starring Johnny Depp. That's finally in theaters if you can find it. So that debuted at number 12. Judas and the Black Messiah, number 13. Nomadland, who's winning all the Oscars. All of them. Every last one. Is at number 14. Promising Young Woman, who the writer and the director of that actually just got the Zatanna film. That's in the news now. That jumped from 19 to 15. Monster Hunter dropped from 13 to 16. The War with Grandpa, which came out in like November, I think, went from 20 to 17. Long Weekend, 11 to 18. Wrong Turn, 17 to 19. And finally, Dutch dropped from 14 to number 20. Last Call debuted at number 25, and Dark State debuted at number 29. Where We Are Worldwide, Hi Mom, Detective Chinatown, A Writer's Odyssey, and Endgame are all at the top 4. Boonie Bears, top 5. Tom and Jerry is a worldwide cume. What are you saying, you?
I just said please stop.
No. Tom and Jerry is a worldwide cume of 77, despite it being a split release with HBO Max. Speaking of split releases, Raya and the Last Dragon has a $67 million cume worldwide, despite it being a premiere release. NASA Reborn at number 8. Avatar, which is also a big news piece. Avatar, which came out in 1947, was re-released. The James Cameron movie was re-released in China and has now retaken the number 1 box office earner ever, surpassing Avengers Endgame, you fucking bastards. Not that Disney gives a shit, it's their movie now. So yay for Avatar and the Mouse.
I will never understand people that like Avatar as a movie.
People wanted to live in that universe because people are depressed and mad and broken. That is the story of Avatar.
Look, I don't care. It's a shitty movie.
Okay, but you asked a question and that's the answer, so... You know.
I didn't ask a question. I said I will never understand them.
Inherent in that was a question.
No. I'm not curious about what they think, about why they want to. I said I don't understand it, and they're morons.
Okay. Yin Yang Master at number 10, Big Red Envelope 11, Evangelion number 12, Master 13, The Little Things, yet another split release. Number 14, The Last Warrior, Root of Evil. Number 15, I Fell in Love Like a Flower Bouquet. Number 16, Wish Dragon. Number 17, The Marksman. Number 18, 19, Gintama, The Final. And finally, rounding out the top 20 movies for the year 2021 thus far is Chaos Walking. And I have an article here from The Hollywood Reporter. It says, box office, Raya and the Last Dragon stays number 1 with $5.2 million as Los Angeles theaters roar, as I said before, back to life.
Nice little bit of prose there. Good for you, sir.
Oscar
Appreciate the objectivity.
Oscar Best Picture contenders also saw a boost with Los Angeles and New York cinemas back in operation. Disney's fantasy adventure Raya and the Last Dragon stayed atop the chart in its third outing, falling mere 5% to $5.2 million as LA theaters roared back to life over the weekend in a needed boost for Hollywood and ravaged theater owners. Raya's domestic total is now at 23.4 for a global cume of 71.2, as I said before. The Disney title was hardly the only movie seeing a narrow decline or even a boost, although the big test will come when new major studio products open over the next 2 weekends in North America, including Nobody, which opened to a promising $2.6 million from 4 overseas markets this weekend, and then, of course, the following weekend is Godzilla vs. Kong. Exhibitors and distributors are predicting a relatively slow recovery as vaccines continue to roll out and as more indoor cinemas flip on the lights in Los Angeles and New York, the 2 biggest movie-going markets in the country. Regal Cinemas, the country's second largest chain, remains closed because of restrictive capacity issues, or 25% in both markets, while a number of smaller cinemas, including ArcLight, remain dark as well. Most of California is now open, although much of Canada remains off limit to cinemas. Elsewhere, is much of what I said before already. So you hear that and you think, okay, well, surely we're not going to continue to see more movies change their release dates, right? We're in the upswing, right, Rob? Right? right? Things are improving. Surely Black Widow will maintain its May 7th purely theatrical release. Surely, Jason Teasley, we will not see more movies change the calendar release dates over time. No more split releases. That experiment is over. It's back to the theaters in droves. Surely that's a thing, right? Right?
Play your stupid sound clip and don't call me Shirley.
Hey, everybody! Do you want to play a game called Musical Chairs?
Let's play a game called Musical Chairs. There's only one winner, so you better beware. When the music stops, you sit on a chair. That's how you play Musical Chairs.
Yes, folks, it's everyone's favorite movie game, movie release, Musical Chairs. Disney shifts Black Widow and Cruella to day-and-date release in theaters and Disney+, jarring summer box office. Why, Disney? Why? Why would you do this? Just when it looked like studios were going back to a theatrical window release pattern with today's news of Regal and Warner Brothers deal. Yeah, the other quick news item, no more HBO's Max split releases for big theatrical movies for Warner Brothers. In 2022, they go back to purely theatrical releases until they don't. Disney has smashes that to bits. Yes, Cleo. Disney said Tuesday that it's opening both of its key summer events picks, Cruella and Marvel's Black Widow, simultaneously in theaters and on Disney+. Gag me with a spoon. With Premier Access, which is a $30 extra for people who subscribe to Disney+. In most Disney Plus markets on Friday, May 28th, and Friday, July 9th, respectively. So to make that clear, and I messed this up earlier, Cruella is keeping its May 28th date. The only thing that changes with that is it's going to be theatrical and Premiere Plus the way Raya and Mulan were. But Black Widow, who has moved 500 times over the course of 2 years, is now going to be July 9th, which then caused a domino effect of other movies. Just as the good news was spreading for Los Angeles and New York City's reopening, the moves are a sign that the number one studio doesn't have faith in exhibition just yet. Disney, you are just terrible. Disney tried this recently with Raya and the Last Dragon to lackluster box office results, and in this morning's press release is declaring the movie was a success for them without backing the claim up with numbers. Yeah, so just as an aside, they're like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the most watched thing on Disney+. Zack Snyder's Justice League, the most watched thing on HBO Max. Raya and the Last Dragon, a phenomenal success with Premier Access. Okay, show us your facts and figures. Well, I'm a lady, and I don't show things without, consent. It's dark in here, and whew, is anyone else hot? Oy. So they're not showing any numbers. Cinemark, as well as other exhibitors, refused to play Raya, given Disney's stiff deal to them. By the studio taking their two most prized picks to Disney Plus, as well as theaters, it truly twists exhibitioners' arms. Oi, how could exhibitions refuse to play such titles? At the same time, Disney said its summer Pixar movie Luca will stream exclusively into Disney Plus homes worldwide on June 18th. So it's keeping its day and date. It's just moving, just as Soul did, to Disney Plus proper. With no Premier Access, which is what the studios did with Soul over Christmas. Yes?
Yeah, because they don't care about Pixar. Look, I can't wait to cry over Lovecraftian monstrosities. I'm genuinely looking forward to that.
The other factor to consider here in Disney avoiding a full-blooded theatrical release of Black Widow and Cruella is that most international theatrical markets outside of Asia are closed down. Europe isn't fully back online, nor is Latin America. As a matter of fact, my wife was telling me when I was sharing all this with her that apparently England has banned travel. Like, you can't leave the country.
Yeah, England's in a rough spot.
So, here's the full lineup of everything that was affected by the domino falling. Black Widow moves to July 9th from May 7th. Free Guy on August 13th from May 21st. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings moves to the Dead Zone of September 3rd from July 9th. The Kingsman
see that anyway.
moves in direct competition to Sing 2 and Matrix 4 from its date of August 20th to December 22nd. Deep Water moves to January 14th, 2022 from August, and Death on the Nile moves from September to February 11th, which I don't care about the last two because we weren't going to review them anyway. So, Rob, let me go to you first, and we'll just, for those who care, we'll just kick this around for a minute. What do you make of Disney? I guess the way I read the article was playing hardball with the theaters, going, play our movies, accept our terms, do what we tell you, or fuck it, Premier Access. How do you like them apples?
I'm not going to drive to Orem to watch Black Widow. I'm just not.
Good takeaway.
Hey, I don't... What do you want me to say? Disney's playing hardball. I'm surprised by this? No, I'm not surprised by this. It's freaking Disney. I'm not surprised that they're doing... Look, they're going to buy Sunday from the NFL in 2 more years. Like, that's what they're... This is what they do. This is how they operate. I don't understand people who are surprised by this. No, I don't.
They operate like the mob, the happiest mob on earth.
Pretty much. Here's the other thing. I don't care all that much. I was not at all interested in any of those properties you just referenced, for the record.
You were reviewing half of them.
I know, Mark. Believe me, I know.
He said with knife to arm.
Knife to arm? How about knife to throat?
What was that suicide hotline again?
Christ, Rob!
Hang in there. We'll be right back.
But not on YouTube.
Small technical difficulty. No, well, I mean, look. It's no secret that I understand the monster I have created that is this show as it pertains to what I enjoy in film. I deal with it. That's what I do. I accept that, and my joking aside, yeah, I'm not interested in most of those, but that's my problem to deal with when I do this show, so I figure out ways to deal with it. It's just kind of it's what I did to myself, and I must cope, and I do.
But the play is the thing. What do you make of these decisions, other than Disney's playing hardball, which is obvious?
Disney's playing hardball. Disney will be opening its own string of independent theater. Actually, that would be illegal. There's specific legislation against that as it comes to studios owning theaters. I don't know what you want me to say. I don't care that much. They're going to do what they're going to do because they're Disney, and there's not really anything that can be done about that.
Here's a conversation point, and we'll end with this because I know Alexis, this is her least favorite part of what we do here, and I don't know how Jason feels about the business of movies, but I like talking about it, so we do. But there is a conversation point to be had here, and that is between the pandemic and the rise of streaming being probably the 2 legs on this particular stool. And maybe a third one I'm not thinking of to make it a 3-pronged stool. The world of exhibition has changed and will never go back to what it was in 2019 and before that. And what I mean by that is, never mind a lot of movies being released directly to Hulu and Netflix and Amazon, etc. You have the theatrical window, which is now forever shortened, and maybe even getting shorter as time goes on. We had the Paramount Plus announcement of I think it's the 45-day window, which when you think about, like, Wonder Woman's still in theaters, right? That came out in December. We're in fucking almost April here. The Croods, which came out in November, is still in theaters. So the theatrical window is a thing where you gave exhibitions plenty of time to make as much money on a movie as possible before the studios could take it back and then make more money with it on DVD and then eventually licensing it out to cable networks and such for reshowing. And that all changed. That's all changed in the past year to where, like, Paramount Plus said, I think it's a 45-day window now, which is nothing. It's nothing. They barely have enough time. It's like basically you're going to get like the opening weekend and maybe a second weekend, and then that's it. But people are going to move. People are going to move on, and then it's going to be. They'll just. It's like I can wait for Paramount Plus if I don't really want to go to the movies. Warner Brothers, as I said before, released an article saying that their theatrical window is now ridiculously short, and that they're not going to do the split release thing anymore. Universal started this mess. Universal was the ones that sort of held off on, hey, everything should go to streaming. I don't even think Peacock was a thing yet when this all first started, but they were the first ones to do, PVO, straight to PVOD, and then that was, they pissed off the theaters, and then they followed, they made amends, but in doing so, they shortened the theatrical window for those releases. So, any thoughts on, the idea of where there used to be, like, 2 months, 3 months that you could see a movie in the theater, that's going away. That's a thing of the past. Robert.
That kind of sucks. I don't necessarily think that appeals. I'm not a big fan of the trend personally. By the same token, I'm not going to pretend that this doesn't, that I don't benefit from this. I do. I think we all benefit to one degree or another from this. This is where the market's going. And much as I am probably going to feel bad about missing out on stuff the way it used to be, this is, I think I mentioned one of the reasons that I thought theaters would be okay surviving after the pandemic was because we were dealing with an externality to the market. And what we're dealing with now when it comes to this is going to wind up being an internality. Either people are going to say, no, we like the bigger theatrical window, and we'll, kind of lobby and campaign for it, in which case it'll probably come back, or they're going to decide that they would rather go this direction of more limited theatrical releases, make as much money as you're going to, anybody that wants to see it in the theaters will do so in the first month. And then after that, it's kind of just going to have to become there's going to be faster turnover. Again, not my preferred method, but it's this is just an option to the market, and the market will decide how it goes, whether I like it or not.
I watched Cherry before I went on vacation a week ago, and that debuted in theaters, but it had a hot week, 1 week, and then it was on Apple Plus. Jason and Alexa, something maybe you can identify with. When I was a kid, and when I say kid, like early 20s, Pulp Fiction was a thing. And I remember my friends and I would get bored, and we were like, you want to go to Tower Records? No, we've been to Tower Records. You want to go to Barnes & Nobles? No, we've been to Barnes & Nobles. Want to go see Pulp Fiction? And we saw Pulp Fiction like 100 times in the theater. We just loved going to the movies to go see Pulp Fiction. There was a guy who made the news because he saw Avengers Endgame like 900 times in the theater. Having a long theatrical window affords you the ability to do things like that. Kind of like our lamenting the loss of like Toys R Us and other things that we all grew up with, Jason. The idea of just like going to a movie just to go see something that we like because it's there for a long time for us to enjoy is yet another cultural touchstone that we're going to lose. What do you think about that?
Mark,
I want to hop in there real quick. Go ahead, Alexa.
No, Mark, how did you pronounce my name?
I thought I said Alexis.
You didn't.
What'd I say?
You slipped in a couple of Alexas. You kind of go back and forth.
Uh-huh. Anyway.
So I'm going to hop in real quick because I'm going to have to bounce because my kid just got home from being at the beach for 10 days. But, as I worked at a theater, so I've seen movies on endless loops for about 3 years. And you'd get the same movie that was held over, carried over, just because it was making money. One of the most profitable movies at the theater I worked at for the longest time was surprisingly Wild Hogs. Why? No one knew why, but we had that movie for 3 months, and it continuously was in the top 3 of our ticket sales for 3 straight months. And then we was forced to let it go because it was still doing good numbers for us, because we had like 6 new movies coming in. So yeah, I do miss that ability to go to a theater and see movies over and over and get that theater feel. Because yeah, I like the fact that I got to watch the movies from the comfort of my living room and not have to take out a small loan to take my wife and kid to a movie for ticket prices and $500 soda and popcorn. So I mean, it has its advantages and
going up again
and disadvantages. So,
Jason, thanks for coming on tonight. I hope you enjoyed the discussion.
I did. I look forward to being on the next installment. Just let me know whenever you guys need me. In the meantime, you can find me on either Black Irish or Kickoff.
Kiss him. He's Black Irish. Thanks, Jason. Talk to you later.
All right, later, guys.
So we're talking about, the joy of just going to the movies and seeing your favorite movies over and over and over again when the culture afforded you the ability to do so. Alexis, how do you Alexis? How do you relate to that, if at all?
I don't understand why you still think that this is my least favorite part of the discussion. I'm just quiet because I'm trying desperately to keep these dogs from either barking or biting me.
I was always under the impression you hated the money section. It's like the least part of I know you like the news. We talk about Pepe Le Pew and giant piles of laundry with rabbit ears and whatnot, but I didn't think you liked the business section. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I'm fine with the business section. I'm a businesswoman. Like I said, I'm quiet because there's one toy that I have that will keep Cleo from biting me, and Eddie keeps stealing it away from her.
I must suffer, so now you will suffer with me.
My dog is a hoarder. No, I miss going to the theater, undoubtedly, and I miss the atmosphere of everyone going to the theater. That was always so much fun. But I think that what we have seen, thanks to the quarantine, is that more and more people are comfortable just watching movies at home.
Yeah, we lost my wife. We were talking about that earlier, and I was like, I'm going to take, despite the premiere access, I'm going to take the kids to the theater to go see Black Widow still, and Cruella still. And she was like, yeah, I liked it when we were just at home watching Raya.
But then I was talking with Andre about the same thing, and we both mentioned that we're both big fans of Marvel movies, and one of the great things about the premiere access is that you can pay for it and then you can watch it again and again and again as many times as you want. And part of me was like, well, yeah, we do tend to, it's like nearly every Marvel movie we've seen it in theaters more than once. So, we're trying to do the math of would it actually be cheaper to do premiere access, or would it be cheaper just to go to the theater? But again, I feel that we have evolved, mostly thanks to the quarantine, that society has become more and more comfortable with streaming services and watching their films at home. Not to mention you have much larger TVs than what we were accustomed with. I mean, I think that was part of the big deal is everyone said, oh yeah, let's go see the movie on the big screen. Now everyone's got big screen TVs.
Right.
There are people with, these giant monstrosities. Some people even, kit out home theater systems that are really, really nice.
Yep.
A lot of the people that I know actually fork over for projectors.
It's funny. When the Red Letter Media guys reviewed Wonder Woman 84, one of the things they said was, they hated going to the theater. There's always a fat guy munching popcorn in their ear, or another guy that wants to narrate the movie. A lot of complaining about the in-theater
experience. So you've been to the theater with them. That's nice.
And they were like, so, we'll have this experience of watching it at home and we won't have these annoyances. And they said, now the flip of the coin. Now you're at home, your phone's ringing, you get bored with a movie, you look at your phone, you get up and you walk around and do stuff. I've been known to do that where, I'll have a movie on and I'm trying to pay attention to it because I know we're going to talk about it, but you guys start chatting about WandaVision or something and and I got to look at my phone and I'm not watching the movie anymore, or there's something distracting me. And it's funny, when I went to go see The Courier this past weekend, it was nice to just turn my phone off. I put it on the seat next to me, and I was there for this picture. But yeah, I can see kind of all sides of it. There's definitely benefits of doing it at home. Shit, we watched SpongeBob and Raya at home back to back, and it was great. We had a great night. On the other hand, there's nothing like being in a big theater. whether it's an empty theater, like, the Courier didn't have a tremendous amount of people in it, or like an Endgame experience or Phantom Menace, where you're there with, before I hated people, you're there with you're there with your fellow brethren, the people who love these movies as much as you do and aren't spoiled bratty assholes about the whole thing.
No,
And so,
they were. You were just one of them and you had not yet fully understood both them and yourself to that degree.
And so you're having this cultural experience, this cultural group experience. So it's come up a lot over the past year, but what of the movie experience? What will we do? But I think it's important to talk about how it's changing, and it's not done changing yet. It's still evolving, still metamorphosizing. Rob, I don't know if you were finished, Alexis. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I guess I was just saying that we have to accept that I believe that our culture has changed, and it's not just due to studios being afraid to, put money into putting movies out there. We've discussed before that a lot of the studios, one of the reasons they keep holding back is because they're scared they're not going to make enough money through theatrical releases, and then the theaters are saying that they don't want to open up wide enough because they don't know if it's safe yet. And even though more people are getting the vaccines, we are still quite a ways away from everything returning to even the slightest glimpse of normality.
Meanwhile, in Texas, you can go watch Canelo fight in May, and they're going to have like 50,000 people in Texas Stadium. And in a few weeks, you can go to WrestleMania 2 nights in a row and be part of the 45,000 people they're going to shove into Raymond James Stadium. The world is a weird place.
I have some other good news for you on that particular respect, just for the record, Mark.
Mm-hmm.
UFC 261 is coming back to the the ViStar Veterans Memorial.
Yeah, I
Theater,
wanted to go. My wife won't let me.
In Jacksonville, with the plan of having full 100% capacity.
Nice. I hope they also mandate no one's allowed to wear a mask or clothing.
So be on the lookout for that, because, the UFC just
100,000 naked, sweaty, coughing MMA fans all on top of each other in the middle of Jacksonville. Please make that happen, Dana White. I ask so little.
For the record, no. You don't get to ask anything of the sport, Mark. You checked out.
Oh, shut up. You and your elitist, bratty, entitled attitude towards MMA.
Oh, hold on. No. Stop that. Stop
Snob.
that. I will accept... No, I am a snob about my MMA. That's very true. I absolutely am. You watch less than 6 MMA events a year. You're a casual who gets no opinion.
Okay, I forgot you're the king of MMA fandom. All right.
I am not. This is the consensus. I am speaking not as myself. This is on behalf of the hardcore community.
Oh, okay, Lorax.
Again, we met, we discussed, we debated the number, we came to a consensus.
All right, I think Alexis wants you to shut up about it now so we can move on. Right, Alexis?
Yeah, sure, why not?
There you go. Now you're getting to stand out.
He's just using you to try and get out of a thrashing that he deserves.
Finally, Alexis is catching on how this podcast and shit works. All right, folks. With that said, are you ready for our Rotten Tomatoes critical review?
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
This portion of the podcast is brought to you by Grammarly, because of course it is. Why wouldn't it be? Grammarly is fantastic, and I want to tell you all about it.
Please do.
For you listeners of Damn You Hollywood on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, brought to you by W2M, Grammarly is offering a free download of the Grammarly software. Grammarly's AI-powered products help people communicate more effectively. Grammarly helps you write mistake-free on Gmail, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and nearly anywhere else you write on the web. Grammarly corrects hundreds of grammar, punctuation, and spelling mistakes while also catching contextual errors, improving your vocabulary, and suggesting style improvements. To download Grammarly today, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network. Again, that's getgrammarly.com /W2M Network to get Grammarly for free. You can use it to write me on Twitter, tell me to go fuck myself after I told you to go fuck yourself. That's a great use for Grammarly. Use it for Twitter to send me hate mail. Please. Get Grammarly.com /W2M Network. Send me hate mail at markradulich.com. How dare I question the Snyder fans? What a jerk I am. Tell me that using Grammarly on Twitter. All right. Speaking of places where you could use Grammarly, Rotten Tomatoes. Here we go. Jackie K. Cooper of JackieCooper.com.
Not doing it.
Dance, monkey.
Get bent.
Fair enough. More detailed, more dramatic, more entertaining, and the 4 hours fly by.
Yeah, the 4 hours do not fly by. Again, if you want to argue that this is that this makes use of most of its 4 hour runtime, I might still disagree, but at least that's a coherent argument. This did not fly by. Nothing that lasts 4 hours flies by. It just doesn't.
Melanie McFarlane of Salon.com, top critic.
Oh, God, no. Not that publication.
Zack Snyder's Justice League shows Snyder's evolution from a director known for emphasizing style over substance to a man who understands why we love superhero myths. No, he doesn't. Whether they live in the DC universe or Marvel's. Yikes.
Again, I can see a bit of the point there. I'm not necessarily sure I agree with it, but if you're comparing this to the theatrical cut, then yeah, this has a much better grasp of superheroes.
But again, that's one hell of a low hurdle to jump.
Unbearably low. Also, can we get Zack Snyder into the MCU? I want to see his Ghost Rider.
Oh, God! Dude! Please, God, don't tempt fate.
Rachel Wagner of RachelReviews.net.
I'm still not doing it.
You're the worst.
Get bent.
Is it a satisfying event for the fans who willed it into existence? The answer is undeniably yes. Ugh.
Wow. You just leaned onto that, like asking questions at the beginning of your sentence for you to answer there, do you? I guess you do.
They're not wrong. I mean, the ones that have been crying out that movie is so epic and so grandstanding are the ones that have been hashtagging release the Snyder Cut for years. This movie's for them, not anyone else.
Yeah, this movie really is, and I mean this as a compliment. It's something that it's a lot of fan service in the sense that it was very much done to try and make the fans happy. And when you succeed on that level, then it's there's still flaws, but that's generally to be complimented. There are other circumstances where I tend to think a director made a good faith effort to make something that the fans will like and failed miserably.
Alan Almacar of The MacGuffin. It validates its existence through sheer scope and force of will.
Oh, shut up.
You may or may not like it, but you have to respect it.
No, we don't.
One, no. I don't. Not because you say so or even because it exists. Two, why? Just why do people think that movies have to justify themselves? I can think a movie's stupid. I can think an idea's stupid. I do think that the Black Widow movie's stupid. But I'm not saying this is not me going, why don't you justify your existence? No, you exist. Fine. Whatever. I think you're stupid. I'm going to say I think you're stupid. I'm going to review your stupid movie. And my mind might change when I see it. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. But anyone whose response to a film being made is, boy, I really do wish this would justify itself, you pretentious dick. Stop it. That's not a valid line of criticism. Just, no.
Sean Burns of North Shore Movies. It is grand. It is ridiculous. It is by anybody's definition of the word cinema. And cinema is an event. All right, that last part I added.
Of course
It was implied. I actually do think you might have added something useful to the sentence. Martin Scorsese would disagree with this gentleman's assessment, but one does wonder if he wasn't deliberately aiming elements of his review at Scorsese's critique. In which case, just write a critique of Martin Scorsese's opinion, not try to shoehorn it into your movie review, moron.
Paul McGuire Grimes of KSTP TV, St. Paul, Minnesota. Zack
You live
Snyder.
in Minnesota. I can't say anything else to hurt you.
Zack Snyder delivers the ultimate gift to his fans. This cut of Justice League is epic and exhilarating from start to finish. It brought out a new appreciation for his work and his version with DC's beloved characters.
I
Okay,
fell asleep during this movie.
I will buy the last statement he made there, that this does kind of give a greater appreciation to other things that he's done in this. I tend to think that as a standalone trilogy, what he put together from Man of Steel to Justice League might actually be rather compelling. I think if you look at it as a self-contained kind of trilogy. I'd have to go back and rewatch all the movies and formulate a more cohesive opinion on that, and I don't want to at the moment. But I think that's a fair point. His point about time and it being exhilarating from start to finish. No, sir. No. Nothing in the entertainment field should, independently of anything else, be 4 hours. If I choose to binge a show over that period of time, that's on me, not the presentation. A movie should not be 4 hours long. I don't know how many times I have to say that, but that's kind of where I've landed on it.
Armin White, National Review. I feel like we've now gone to this guy like weeks in a row. But he writes terrible things. The essential point of Snyder rebounding from a career catastrophe and making it right...
This was never his catastrophe.
Can I finish?
No, this guy's an idiot. I don't even need to hear the rest of this.
I know, it's why I keep going to him, because he gives us such grist for the mill, but let's try again. The essential point of Snyder rebounding from a career catastrophe and making it right is demonstrated in the personal dilemma of each superhero. Zack Snyder's Justice League restored vision reminds us of pop art's value.
Okay, one, that last sentence is you trying way too hard to be to be something you're not. Two, the Justice League failure was never attributed to him, not by anyone that I'm aware of. We all talked about his contribution.
I'll say that the problem with that one is all down to Whedon and the studios for not taking a break.
Yeah, no one really blamed him for that movie, and I don't think he's released anything else in the interim that would have necessarily constituted a giant career downturn, has he? Hang on, now I actually have to confirm that.
Vincent Schilling, Indian Country Today. Zack Snyder pulls off everything that was missing from the original Justice League. The Snyder Cut is the best decision DC could have made in revitalizing the superhero universe. Gag me with a fucking spoon.
Okay, yeah.
Better than that?
He hadn't directed anything since his partial directorial credit on the first Justice League movie. So he hadn't done anything that would require a rebound since no one blamed him for Justice League.
Richard Roper of Chicago Sun-Times, top critic.
Oh.
Is this an improvement over the more straightforward and much more shorter original? Not to this reviewer, though I was in the minority who actually enjoyed the 2017 film. Quit your job, sir. Go find something else to do. Maybe
Roper
pump gas.
Liked that movie?
Do me a Mark. Can you find his review of the 2017 Justice League movie? Just his blurb on Rotten Tomatoes for it, please.
Sure. Give me a second.
This moron decided that he liked that dumpster fire. I need to hear his reasoning.
Okay.
I genuinely need this. Like.
Shit. All right. I wish there was a way I could actually just search for him in particular, and then having to sort through all of this. Because there was 400. Yikes. Richard.
You could probably just Control F. You could just Control F and then type in his last name.
I have a Mac. Can you do that on a Mac?
I don't. It's just a search function. I don't know. Why do you use a Mac?
I use them.
I'm surrounded by heathens.
You're the heathen.
Graphic designer, dude. Macs are better.
Yeah, that's fair. If you need it for your job, Mark has no excuse.
I need it for podcasts.
I podcast on a PC.
Well, I can't help it that you do a tape recorder and abacus. I don't know what your problem is.
Oh,
Says the man who spent how many hours trying to figure out various bits of software and how they pour it over? How many different times have you said, hey, call me, I need to bounce stuff off of you while I troubleshoot this minor inconvenience that my Mac freaks out about because it's a Mac?
I don't know what you're talking about.
How many hours, Mark?
I'm so sick, it affects my memory. I don't remember things anymore.
Selective amnesia. Hang on, I will... Hang on, I have you. Hang on.
Oh, you're gonna find it?
Let me find the first one. Yeah, okay, here we go. I actually have the review from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Oh, perfect.
Let's see. The headline, the title is Fun Justice League Cleverly Assembles a Superhuman Fight Club. I don't need to say anything else,
I'm sorry, that headline hurts my brain.
So this is a rotten review, but it does need to be read out loud. Rafael Guzman of Newsday, top critic, Red Star. The result, hardly an ounce of difference.
What?
You, sir, are a paramecium. I might reference one of my favorite long-winded insults.
Excuse me. Kyle Pinion of Screed Rex. It's perhaps the best DC film of the current cycle, and certainly the one that most embodies the inherent thrill of that publisher's canon. It's also one hell of a redemption story.
The thrill part I might disagree with, but, believe it or not, I think if you wanted to just kind of make an argument of the current DC iteration, all the stuff starting with Man of Steel, you could argue this is the best. I think that's a genuine argument you could make. I'm not sure I agree with it, but you could certainly make it. You could make it from a good faith point.
I just want to point out, he says it's the best of the current cycle. It's like, well, yeah, what has it got to compete with? Wonder Woman 1984?
Birds of Prey.
Because you two are being sarcastic about this, the actual answer about the top two best films in this particular cycle are Shazam and Aquaman.
Correct.
I agree.
And I could be convinced that this is better than either of those movies.
Jennifer Heaton of Alternative Lens. It's a cinematic glow-up for the ages, transforming a box office bomb into a triumphant epic that dares to be extra.
You really used extra in that context? You feel good about yourself and your use of language there?
I like this one. I want to read it out loud just because I love it. Sean Collier of Box Office Profits. Is it worth years of hype and 4 hours of your time? I don't know. Is anything?
I'm sure that was your wife's sentiment on your wedding night.
Oh.
There's the nihilist attitude that we all know and love.
All right, let's do one more of these and call it quits for the evening. Let's find a good one. Radahian Simon Pillai of Now Toronto, top critic.
Wait. Do that again, please.
Sam
Please,
Smith of Now Toronto, top critic.
No. I need it in my life. Read that
No,
gentleman's
I've asked you to
again.
do so much tonight. You've done nothing except lay there and point the fingers and says everything is bad and drink wine and lick the wall. That's all you did tonight.
Bullshit, I did. I wouldn't dance when you said dance, so now you're going to deny me one of my few pleasures in life? How dare
Yeah,
you?
get bent. How does that sound?
Fair enough.
Justice League is an ambitious popcorn movie meets Greek mythology that is often just satisfied bowing down to its godlike characters as they move slowly and operatically through spaces carrying their emotional burdens.
You have adequately described a sequence of events while giving no opinion on it. Good for you.
Okay, this is actually the last one. Jesse Hasinger of Sports Alcohol. Sports Alcohol.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's definitely two things you want to see smashed together more often, right?
As opposed to the website that I work for, which is Car Taco. An enormous feast of hero cake. So much hero cake, you could choke on it. Ugh.
Hero cake.
I'm confused.
You proud of yourself? Feel good about that use of language? Stretch that metaphor far enough, eh? Bet if I read that review, you try to break down each individual component and character into some ingredient in your hero cake. Shame on you. You're not You're not even that ambitious. You just thought, hero cake. That's a fun little conjunction of words. You don't even have the self-discipline to stretch out the metaphor to decide which heroes are which ingredient going into your cake. You don't. You don't have it. You're just the worst. How dare you be that lazy with the language and metaphor? Shame on you.
Robert, are you done channeling Patton Oswalt?
Oh, God. Don't hurt her, Robert. She's a married woman. She has dogs.
No, I'm too sullied by the reference to Oswald.
You, madam, have insulted me.
We meet on the field of onion.
All right, speaking of Field of Onions, that's it for our review of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Tomorrow, myself, Alexis, Hejna, Cleo.
Hey, tomorrow we get to have tomorrow's going to be fun. We get a tag team match. Mark, you and I actually get to team up for once. We get to be the reluctant
Eddie,
tag
that's the other dog's name. Yes.
We get to be reluctant tag team partners.
We'll be like Shawn Michaels and Steve Austin. What a reference that is, huh? So, yes, it'll be myself, Robert Winfree.
The hairlines are accurate on both of us.
Myself, Robert Winfree, and Alexis, Hejna, Cleo, and Eddie will be reviewing WandaVision. Yes, it ended at the beginning of March. We're finally getting to it. We have the time, we have the power, we have the money.
Forgot one. Isn't Andrew going to be on that?
No, because as many times as I said, are you sure you can make a middle of the day podcast? You seem to think I meant 9 o'clock midday. So, no. And I can't do it at night because we're doing Rob Zombie and, Jesse works during the day. So that has to be at night. And I can't do it the next day because I'm doing Fastlane in the middle of the afternoon because that's when the Podsmen are available, and I'm doing the Klitschko era at night. Do you have any other questions about my fucking schedule?
Yeah, what time are you calling us tomorrow?
Noon, my time.
Why do you do this to yourself?
I'm a glutton for punishment. You should have seen the quandary I was into when I was sitting there looking at all the holes in the schedule after Disney moved everything, and I'm like, on the one hand, I could use a break, and maybe having a couple of days where I don't podcast is probably a good thing. On the other hand, I hate space on my calendar, and I have to fill it with something. Anything. I'll take anything at this point. I literally rewrote May and June because I couldn't take the spaces on my calendar.
You just said anything, Mark.
Thank you for joining us here on Damn You Hollywood. It's been a joy.
Oh, now he's running. Now he's afraid.
I fear no man.
That's not true, and you know.
So tomorrow, myself, Alexis, and Robert will review WandaVision, and then in the evening time, myself and Jesse Starcher will review the new Rob Zombie album, The Lunar Rejection Kool-Aid Eclipse Conspiracy. Do like Alexis does. Shake your ass and smoke your grass. God damn it. Right, Alexis?
The fact that you know what my ass does alone just kind of terrifies me.
And as I...
My boss, not my husband, you do not get to comment on my ass.
But I also told you to smoke your grass. All right.
Yeah, I'm less offended by that one than the one about my butt.
Speaking of smoking grass, we're also going to review Fastlane on Thursday. And then the last official chapter of the history of heavyweight boxing. We're doing the Klitschko era, myself and Pat Mullen, before we do our epilogue of Modern Times. And maybe by the time we get to Modern Times, we'll actually have a date for Anthony Joshua versus Tyson Fury. So, crossing fingers.
Signed it. They've signed they don't have a date yet, but they've agreed to.
Until I have a date in a stadium, nothing's real. I can't depend on anything.
Depend on me.
This Friday, the new Invincible cartoon on Amazon Prime starts up, and to celebrate such happenings, we will be releasing a syndicated source material for Invincible Volume 1 that was recorded by Jesse and the Screaming Boy himself, Ronnie Adams. You can check out Alexis and I reviewing Avengers, Vision and the Scarlet Witch, A Year in the Life. We did that last night. Last week was St. Patrick's Week. We did Grimm's Fairy Tales, St. Patrick's Day one-shot special. Speaking of 4-hour movies, myself and Robert Winfree reviewed The Irishman. Myself and Jesse Starcher reviewed Fiddler's Green, 3 Cheers for 30 Years. Jesse dropped an Unspoken Issues for Transformers number 80. And that's all she wrote in the city. Alexis, Hejna, do your worst.
Sorry, I literally put a piece of food in my mouth as soon as you said that. Sorry, I thought I had another few seconds.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought this review was starting to go longer than the actual movie. I couldn't wait anymore. I had to eat something.
Okay. Whenever you're ready to do your plugs, madam, please take your time. Take all the time you need. Do you need more time? How about now?
No, I've chewed. I've swallowed. Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fandom meets fashion at the intersection of geek and chic. We've uploaded a ton of brand new products to both our Etsy and our Handmade and Amazon shops, including our new Wizard of Oz line, something I've been wanting to put together for ages. So excited about that. For fans of Raya and the Last Dragon, which we were talking about earlier and we did review before, I have a new hair beret inspired by the land of Kumandra. Go ahead and check it out again on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. I was taking a breath.
Sorry.
And for those getting ready for the spring, remember that we will be doing a 15% off sale on Memorial Day weekend. Tune into our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages for more news. Again, that's Honeysuckle Rose Creations, where fandom meets fashion at the intersection of geek and chic.
All right, Robert, do the plugs that I haven't already done. Don't repeat all the ones I already did. Go.
I'm going to repeat the ones you've already done.
Ugh.
So, again, you can find the three of us tomorrow reviewing WandaVision again.
Ugh.
Review, it stinks.
Oh, yeah.
You can find me most Saturdays covering MMA events in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. This last event, well, let us never speak of that event again. It was not good. This coming Saturday, we have UFC 260. We lost the featherweight title fight because COVID. The UFC has no qualms whatsoever about jamming a 100% capacity venue with tens of thousands of fans, but God help any of their fighters if they get COVID, because they won't be allowed to fight. So we lost that fight. We still have the main event, Stipe Miocic and Francis Ngannou. They better hope nothing happens to that one, because that card cannot support the loss of its other title fight. It's not a bad card, but that's the only other fight worth paying for. So you can find... So I will be covering that on Saturday. Oh, how's the rest of this go? Fridays, I cover WWE SmackDown in the Wrestling Zone of 411 Mania, so you can come by if you're so inclined and watch me continue to just kill traffic to that particular website. I cover MLW Fusion on Wednesdays. And this last couple of weeks, since AEW started something else pointless, but it's content, so someone has to cover it. I cover AEW Dark Elevation, which is about 90-some-odd minutes of pointless squash matches with no connective tissue, utterly useless spots, and commentary provided by Tony Schiavone and Paul White.
Are you covering Never Say Never?
Yeah. Anything MLW does, I do at this point.
Okay. If you want to, I'm giving you an open invitation because I love you. Love your sexy body. We are doing, on Friday, April 2nd, a podcast review of Never Say Never, myself and Bailey. So if you want to be an honorary podsman, that's where you'll find us.
I'm happy to do it, but I will do it with the following caveat.
Ugh, everything is always complicated with you. What?
You are not allowed to jerk off over Jacob Fatu.
I'll try to keep it in my pants. I'm not promising anything, but I mean, if Never Say Never takes place on Tom Lawler's Filthy Island, I guarantee you I'm not wearing any pants.
Oh, dude. Filthy Island was the best.
It really was. This is my favorite show of the year so far.
I haven't laughed that hard in months.
Dude, a match started, Alexis, with dude jumping out of a tree from off camera. It was fantastic.
I've been to that regional MMA show where the guys with the V8 with the cassette tapes going into the boom box that serves as entrance music. The VIP lounge was just that was my favorite line of commentary. There was a dive onto that love seat, the discarded love seat that was serving as seating, and Dan Lambert on commentary. Oh, not the VIP lounge.
Savio Vega lost in the woods. It's fantastic.
Well, that was a different bit, but yeah, I loved that event so much. I laughed so hard. It was entirely appropriate that the first MLW event I was more or less universally happy to have watched didn't actually go up on time because of just website edit issues.
Other than Bloodsport is the only non-AEW WWE show I have talked about incessantly and was pleading with I think I actually sent him the link and was I'm not talking to you again until you watch this. You have to watch Tom Lawler's Filthy Island. It's fantastic. It's the best show ever.
I laughed so hard. I needed that. I needed that laugh that particular day too. It was much needed. I don't care much for most of MLW stuff, and my reviews tend to reflect that. It's mostly a lot of 6, somewhere 5 to 6, so average to eh. But I just about died laughing watching that show a few different times. It was the best.
That might be the only MLW show I've watched all the way through, by the way, because I try to watch them when I have time at work on YouTube. But I usually get I'll get a third of the way, I'll get 2/3 of the way, or I'll only watch the main event because that's the only thing I care about. There was a Jacob Fatu match that I was this is the only thing on the show that I give a shit about right now. But Tom Lawler's Filthy Island, I think I watched twice, in its entirety.
Yeah, I don't get Jacob Fatu. I mean, he's not bad, but I think his success is more a byproduct of MLW being what it is than anything.
All right, so cool. You're gonna join us for that?
Yeah, sure.
Terrific. Put you in the notes here. All right, wrap up and let's go.
So you can find me doing all of those things. I cover a lot of stuff. Some people read it. I weep for them. Some people actually watch the stuff that I recap, and I weep for them more. I don't know why you would. But, yeah, so you can find me doing those things. UFC 260 on Saturday. I host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast. It goes up most Sunday evenings / Monday mornings. It's your weekly look into the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. So there's my full preview for UFC 260 that you can find there. And, yeah, I'll be doing that again this week, reviewing that event and previewing UFC on ABC too, which is not a terribly compelling card and has 15 fights on it because the UFC hates its audience. It's the only thing I got.
All right, and speaking of hating your audience, I want to thank you all for listening to Damn You Hollywood tonight. For Robert Winfree, the late Jason Teasley, and Alexis Hejna, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.